Welcome to the 2011 Carolina Varsity State Championship Review. We'll be looking at the 4A game that featured the East champion, Scotland High School, the Fighting Scots, against the West representative, Porter Ridge, out of Union County. Dale, you attended the game. You were on the sidelines, had some great pictures I noticed. Final score, Scotland 42, Porter Ridge 16. But obviously in the first half, it was a little bit different. We didn't see the game going that way. A lot of people were shocked that Porter Ridge had hopped out on them and taken a lead.
Yeah, actually, you know, the game into the 7-minute mark in the fourth quarter was a one-touchdown game. Most definitely did not see Porter Ridge jumping out on top early. You know, the things that, well, I got to say, the things that got them there were the things that people said that they were able to handle, the things that people said were going to be a problem for them. You know, the athletes and the speed of Scotland, you know, you're going to break out, get in an open space, and the entire game, that didn't happen. Even when the game got out of hand, it got out of hand because Porter Ridge got into that. I've got to throw the ball, and interceptions. But they came out, they played a solid ball game in the first half. You know, very good technique. They schemed very well. They handled the option exceptionally well in the first half. That really surprised me in how they covered. But then, of course, how they covered the option by bringing that cornerback up kind of hurt them later in the game, because that exposed them to, you know, the third point of that option of being able to throw the ball. And that kind of hurt them. And I'm going to say that I was a little disappointed in the coaching not, you know, having an answer for that. You know, the coach is not making an adjustment in their coverage.
I was wondering if the safety was going to get over maybe a little bit more, but
right.
You know, we heard speed, we heard that so athletic and Scotland is, but that didn't what hurt Porter Ridge. Scotland's they were big kids on, you know, fairly good sized kids too, and athletic. But if you look at Porter Ridge, their linebackers are all three in the 170-pound range. And they've got several of their star kids or their athlete kids, number 7, number 8, number 10, and 11. Those guys are going both ways.
Well, they're playmakers, so they're actually running up and down the field on offense, and they're having to cover on defense.
And they were running a lot on defense, you know. And those kids got wore down and they got tired. And I think the interior on the defense got kind of wore down too, because that was an aggressive group, Scotland. And then they end up getting behind, and a lot of teams may stay somewhat conservative and, you know, thinking, well, we're down by a couple, let's be conservative, but, you know, that's not hard, and he's going to get beat by being aggressive. And he went after it, and obviously got a few more scores that widened the game out some. But like you said, it was 7 minutes ago, it was a one-touchdown game. Porter Ridge got the ball down. They had a holding call down around the 2-yard line that brought the ball back, and I think that was a little bit of a backbreaker for them. That was a momentum breaker. If you go in at that time, I believe it might have tied the score. Can't remember exactly. But I was impressed with Porter Ridge kids for sticking in there, because a lot of kids would have folded the tent. And number 8 took some two vicious hits, and actually 2 hits on one play. Yeah. And he stuck in there. And I heard, and I don't know if it's true, that he had re-broke his collarbone. So I'm not sure if that's a fact or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be kind of hard to play with a broken collarbone.
Could have just injured it again.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure we can find get an answer to that.
One thing we talked about, couldn't turn the ball over. The kicking game had to be perfect. You know, those were some things they had to do, and they did a fairly good job not turning the ball over for the most part. Didn't have a lot of turnovers. But the kicking game, I thought the kickoff guy, he did great. He put it in the end zone every time, so he didn't have the returns, and I thought that could have been a huge positive for Scotland. Yeah. They didn't do a good job of really getting the ball out. I was impressed with Scotland's kicking game, because lots of times you see teams that have, you know, really good ball clubs, and sometimes the kicking game doesn't go so good. So their kicking game was fairly good. But what really crushed, I thought, Porter Ridge, they missed the extra point, which Wogan kicks those. And then the other kid came back, and I can't remember his name. I think it's Muscarello. He missed the field goal, and you had two times they got inside like the 5-yard line, 10-yard line, and in the first half they didn't score. So if you're looking at a game with a score one and also the extra point, which I know Scotland had some issues a few times, but if it's 24-7, you start to say to yourself, Scotland has not faced that type of adversity this year, one touchdown behind's one thing, but when you start getting 17 points behind, maybe there's a mentality change. You know, I don't think Porter Ridge mentality would have changed much, but I think Scotland's may have changed some.
Yeah, now, the one thing that did surprise me, though, is that Scotland kicked Oakley. And, they weren't able to put the ball in the end zone every kick. And
they got it high and deep, though, so that helped them a little bit.
But they put it into the hands of, one of the more dangerous guys on the Scotland team. On the Porter Ridge team, as we saw with his interception return for touchdown. The kid can move. He's got speed, and that kind of was a little bit of a shocker to me that they were able to do that, or that they did that. I do agree that the missing the field goal and missing the extra point was huge. I think missing that field goal was that could have really changed things at that point in the game as well. Put another score on the board. To get down in the deep into the red zone and come away empty a couple of times, that's kind of demoralizing. Not kind of, it's a lot demoralizing. It's been a team like Scotland. You got to take all your opportunities and capitalize. You've got to get your points.
I think one play that stood out probably more than anything, he got defensive MVP probably because of it, was 99. Tyndall intercepted the screen pass, and after the game he told us he saw the quarterback's eyes. The lineman had laid off of him. He knew it was a screen. He saw the quarterback look over, and he made the move for it. And that's when he basically ran right over McNeil when he tried to tackle him. And Tyndall's 6'2", 280 pounds, and that's a big kid right there. And he was an athletic kid, and that was an impressive play. But I thought toward the end of the game that kind of was an exclamation point. They were just starting to kind of roll them at that time because Porter Ridge was having a gamble and they were worn out.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if people realize this, but he made the first play of the ball game too, the fumble recovery.
Right.
Now he didn't make the play, he didn't make the fumble, but he was able to get the recovery. I thought that was kind of interesting as I was looking back through. It didn't dawn on me that night until I was looking back through my pictures.
And that was the quarterback fumbling out of a shotgun formation, which I guarantee you he hasn't done that all year. So he probably had a little bit of, I think they had a little bit of jitters opening up, but definitely that interception of the screen was that was huge, and that was probably the backbreaker. If you wanted to pick a backbreaker, that one was probably the one that kind of said it pretty much finalized it.
Exactly. That one said, "This is it. There's nothing more you're going to be able to do."
Well, if there's one player that's that stood out for Scotland somewhat because of what he could do, the quarterback, fluid, pitched the ball, could wait till the last instant to let it go. And when they laid off, it could drop back. I mean, he made a couple of brilliant passes. And one, he threw the ball, I would say, 60 yards, 65 yards on the fly. That kid's extremely impressive. And Quayshawn Quick, he'll be playing in the Shrine Bowl, him and Summers, a week from this coming Saturday. And he's not a little small guy either. He's got good size. He's 6'2" and 180. So, he's a kid we'll be seeing playing on Saturdays. And they talk about those kids playing varsity football their first 2 years, being 2-9 and 2-9, and having a pretty good team last year. And I think, probably a new coach coming in got rid of the kids who didn't want, put the positive attitude in the kids who were willing to buy in the program, and it paid off for them in their 4 years.
Oh, certainly. That's one of the things about the Scotland team is it's very heavy senior. Lots of seniors on the team, and when you can get seniors that are good leaders and are willing to play together, set examples, that goes a long way towards building the special kind of team that I think Scotland put together. I was extremely impressed with, we talked about Page earlier and their unity as a team. I think Scotland actually, to me, even seemed to carry that another step from what I could see. Again, there's a team that they hadn't seen anything like what they saw in the first half from Porter.
No, they hadn't seen anybody throw the ball like that.
Well, they got smacked in the mouth.
And plus they came out and hopped on them. But I don't think either team had really seen anything like the other team, their opponent brought to them that game, because I don't think that Porter Ridge played anybody with a combination of what Scotland had, and I don't think that Scotland had seen anybody who could come out and throw it. And their offenses were very similar. They use more or less the same basic offense, but Scotland keeps their backs in and utilizes the pitch more, while you're going to see the Porter Ridge guys get the backs out of the backfield a lot and utilize the pass a little bit more.
Sure. Now, what I was driving at though is that they got punched in the mouth, got down.
I understand.
So that is really a situation there where you can really start having infighting, because they've never been in that situation this year, not like that. And to see them rally like they did, that's a testament to what Coach Williams has done as far as building the proper character into the team.
With that, it concludes the season. Congratulations to Coach Williams once again for that state championship and to the people of Scotland. And Dale, I think the MVP, the most valuable group of people, was the Scotland fans, because their stands were as packed as we've seen for a state championship game, I think, and they came out in droves to support their team. And I think you've got to say, give a tip of the hat to the fans there.
Exactly. I've been to a lot of state championship games, especially since we've been in this subdivided, and we've been going up to the Chapel Hill and NC State and Wake Forest, and that's got to be the largest crowd I think I've seen since we've done that. And quite honestly, for a visiting team or any team, I think the only other crowd that would match, or actually obviously exceeded it, would have been that Garner-Harding game, but that's because it was here in Charlotte. And
a lot of third-party people.
Exactly.
It wasn't another state championship game for probably 100 miles that night. We heard that Davie County last year pulled a huge crowd equivalent to that, and the reason being the school's less than 20 miles from Wake Forest. Mm-hmm. And Davie County fans come out and support their team too, so you had a big crowd for that. Plus Hillside not being that far, they pulled fairly well too last year. But man, Scotland's fans, I was just really impressed. I saw some Richmond fans over there and some Purnell Sweat fans, and I think there might have been a Lumberton fan or two, but they came out and supported their kids. And season concludes with a perfect 15-0 Scotland County, handing the only loss of the season to Porter Ridge. So next year, 35 seniors lost. We're going to see what happens. Looking forward to another season. Both teams are going to have to do some rebuilding, or maybe now their programs the way they are, they're going to do some reloading.
Exactly. I'm going to say one thing, because you mentioned the Richmond fans in the stands, and I was on the Porter Ridge sideline there at the end of the ball game, and we were somewhere around the 20, 25-yard line, well outside the box. Cheerleaders were lined up beside us, and I thought it was kind of funny that you could see some Richmond fans cheering and cheering on their little brother. And the guy that was standing there with me said, he said Scotland's like the little brother to Richmond, and so way to go, little brother. It's kind of it's your turn. And so we were kind of laughing about that, and I think the Porter Ridge cheerleaders took that the wrong way. One of them asked me who I was cheering for, and reminded me that the Scotland sideline was on the other side. So just so you know, young lady, I was a very big supporter of Porter Ridge this year, and I expect that Porter Ridge, Coach Harden sticks around. You mentioned about the rebuilding. Both teams are going to have to do that, but I think both coaches have set up systems. You can see that in Scotland, and you definitely know that in Coach Harden, that they're going to reload. They've got players in place that'll step up, and so I actually expect both teams to have good seasons next year.
Well, it remains to be seen. I'm going to go on a limb and say that we'll see neither one of these teams in the state championship game next year.
Sure. But
then again, both may make a deep run. 2011 is concluded. Looking forward to 2012.